Hi everyone, my name is Kelsey. I'm a former member of the World Mission Society Church of God, and I'm making this video to share my experience within the church. I was in the church for a little over 10 years. I was baptized in October 2007 and I left in November 2017, so again, just a little over 10 years. So I have a lot of experience being a member of the World Mission Society Church of God. I was a unit leader, I was a course class teacher, I ran the kids program, and I also was a unit leader over the teenager group. So I so I know what I'm talking about when I want to share my experience about this church. So the reason why I left this church is because so much of my time was being demanded of me. When I first got baptized, I lived in a city that I didn't know. I was just in the city to go to school. So I lived in a city where I didn't know anybody, where I didn't have any family, I didn't have any friends. So it was very easy for me to dedicate all my time to this church outside of school. So literally, if I was not in school, I would be at church unless I was sleeping. So, but when I moved back to my hometown, that's when I started to be around family, around friends, and I started to realize this isn't how I want to spend my life. I was so burned out by being in church every single day, doing church activities every single day, that I couldn't stand it anymore and I had to leave. So, also that combined with the difficult leadership that I experienced, the difficult leadership, or how can I say this? The overseers of the church just kept getting worse one after another. So, and more arrogant one after another, that I couldn't take it anymore and I just left. So, what I mean by all my time was being demanded of me. So, the schedule is the same whether you have school or whether you have work. Is you Monday through Friday, you're expected to wake up early, pray for brothers and sisters around the world, just as John Gilja, the leader of the church now, God the Mother, as they teach, wakes up and prays for her children. And then after you wake up 5 a.m. to do that, then you're expected to start studying An Sang Hong's books or Kim Joo Chol's books. Kim Joo Chol is the general pastor of the World Mission Society Church of God, and An Sang Hong is whom they say is Second Coming Christ. They teach An Sang Hong is the very same Jesus who appeared 2,000 years ago. So, to study both of their books, and then you go to school, go to work. After school, you go to church. So, depending on the day of the week, depends on the activity you do inside the church. So, like Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Once you get off school or off work and you go to church, then you're gonna, practice preaching. You're gonna eat dinner, and then you're gonna go for evening preaching meeting until about 9 o'clock at night. And then you return to the church. Some continue to study, and some go home and then study more at home. So when I first joined this church, we were not encouraged to study the Bible on our own. We were encouraged to study An Sang Hong's books, that through An Sang Hong's books we could understand the teachings of the Bible, because they teach An Sang Hong is a root of David, and only root of David can give the true interpretation of the Bible. That's why we have to read his books to understand the Bible. Now they backtracked and they said, oh, you can actually read the Bible. So I guess that's good. But when I was a member, definitely they did not allow that. So so depending on which day of the week, depending on the activity you did in church, after school, after work, Tuesday evenings there was a service. So after work, after school, you go to church and you clean the church to prepare for the service, study some bit, and then there's service. And then after service, if you're in choir or orchestra, you attend that, or you go home and study more. Fridays after work, after school, you go and you help clean the church in preparation for the Sabbath day, which is the next day, because they go to church all day on Saturday. And when I say all day, I mean all day. You're there from like 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. like minimum. There's no going home between services. If you go home between services, you're seen as someone with less faith. And they're going to do everything they can to encourage you to come to church the whole day, unless you're like a troublemaker, and then they'll say, oh, please come back for the next service. But for the most part, everybody's keeping service all day, every day, or all day on Saturday. And then Sunday, from like noon to 4, you're preaching. and then after 4 you eat dinner, and then it's Bible study practice, classes, church activities until probably about 9 p.m. So there's not a single day off, okay? If you're sick and you have the flu, you're still expected to keep service. They keep attendance for service. I couldn't enjoy my sister's wedding because it was on a Saturday. So the church, they said it's according to your faith. Like when I asked to be able to go to my sister's wedding on a Saturday, first I asked, right? You shouldn't have to ask church if you're going to go to if your sister's wedding, right? Second thing is that they said, okay, you can go, it's according to your faith, which according to your faith means you shouldn't do it, but we're not going to tell you because there's rumors that there's, Gentiles or people outside the church say, Church of God says, you can't do this. So they don't want to say it. But yeah, so my sister's wedding started at about 1:45 p.m., but Church of God has service at 2:30 p.m. So I kept just the part where she walks down the aisle, and then I left her wedding to go to the church to keep service, and I was late and I got marked as tardy. So I was so sick and tired of all these strong requirements. So if it snowed or if it flooded, which it did in the Pacific Northwest, then we were still expected to keep the service. I remember one day there was 4 inches of snow, and people in my area don't know how to drive in snow. We're not from Minnesota, the middle part of America. We don't know how to deal with that. So, but we were still expected to keep all the services. So, and those who didn't come that day, they were seen as those with lesser faith. So that, combined with the bad leadership, I was very, very tired. So the bad leadership, what I'm talking about, just to give you a snippet. So the worst thing so I've been told some pretty bad things by leaders over the years. I've been told, because I didn't completely stop preaching in the last year or two of my time in the church, but I wasn't preaching every single day like they wanted. So because I did that, they said I was lazy. They said, because I was verbally saying that I didn't want to do some of the things that they asked me to do. Like I didn't want to do the offering, or collect offerings. I didn't want to, take care of the teenagers anymore. Teenagers, they're children, and they're very impressionable. And I didn't like the things that I was being told to teach them. And I didn't like the ways in which I was told to discipline them. And I also didn't like being told that whenever a member came who the church didn't agree with their lifestyle, such as if they were homosexual, I was tired of being the one that was told to go in and try to find out if they're really homosexual. And if they were, to start following them in the church. So wherever they went in the church, I had to be with them. If they wanted to go outside, I had to, go outside. If they wanted to go to the store, I had to offer to go to the store with them. If they wanted to go to the bathroom, I had to pretend like I had to go to the bathroom too. So I was tired of doing that. And the worst thing that I was ever told was, because when I was in the church, within the last 2 years, both my parents had passed away. So they told me that the reason why my parents passed away was because I wasn't preaching their gospel. So, yeah. So again, I'm not telling anybody what to do in regards to this church. I'm just sharing my experience in this church and how hard it was for me. So if please, this is my opinion, my experience. I'm not being paid. Nobody asked me to do this. I'm doing this by my own will and own volition. So, I'm going to continue to make videos. But I hope this helps at least even one person. So, thank you for your time, and take care, everybody. Bye.